Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Star Trek Away Missions miniature board game unboxing. This is for the Federation expansion, Captain Picard's Away Team. So in the core game, we had Lieutenant Riker's Commander Riker? Lieutenant Riker. Might be both. We had Riker's Away Team, so we had a bunch of the different members. Here we're going to get Picard and 5 more, which is also fun because we also have Picard technically as Lucius in the board. But it's really cool because now you can have Federation versus Federation as a like a training exercise, or you could have 4-player games if you ended up. As of right now, the only way to do that is to get the two core sets because you need enough boards. But maybe in the future they'll release like an expansion with like a different set of boards. So that way you could have 8 different boards, which would be really cool as well. But yeah, until they do that, if you got a second expansion or you have like a friend that also bought the game, you want to play 2 versus 2. Now you can have 2 sets of Federation versus team up with like the 2 sets of Klingons, or the House of Duras Klingons and the Swiss Infiltrator Romulans who kind of work together. Or you could have, even objectively, you could have 2 versus 1 and 1, like one player's the Borg, one's one of the other things, and then the Federation are kind of working together. Be kind of an interesting thing to do. So a bunch of different stuff there. So a couple of cool things they did in this set was, versus the first 2 expansions that came out, is they added starter deck listings. So that was one of the big downfalls of the original two sets. The core set had them, and then the later sets did not. They took out the first 2 expansions, did not have the starter. You can go online to the Gale Force 9 website and you can pick those up if you want to see those, see what they are. Although I do wish they had like a little sheet in here with like a list of what they were, so that way, like, hey, if I take this out, mix and match it with this deck, or if I mix and match with my other Federation deck, I would at least have the ability to turn around and quickly undo that. So the other thing we have in here is we have some extra bonus tokens. So I'm guessing this is just kind of like either these guys score a lot, or Federation maybe score a lot more than other players, or just in case you need some additional tokens if you start playing 4-player games. Maybe the thought was you get 2 Federation, you might play a 4-player, here's some extra tokens. So that's cool. They don't have any other special ones. Like the Klingons and Romulans all had special tokens specifically for them. The Federation do not. Alright, we are going to hop into our characters first, and then we will jump into our decks. So we're going to look at the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Jean-Luc Picard. So yeah, Jean-Luc here has couple of really cool things. So he has Captain, of course, he's the USS Enterprise D, so that's their ship that they're on. Why everything's angled weird. Alright, he has Commander ×2 and Diplomacy ×2. So I haven't seen too many of those doubles. He is a human and a commander, of course. Let's look at his miniature before we get into too much of the other stuff. So here is his captain's uniform. He's running around with his phaser. Camera focus on him. There we go. Now, I can only hope that at some point they release like a promo version, even just like available on their website. I don't honestly, because obviously I don't really care if it's like a convention exclusive you have to like hunt down. I just love to have one where it's just him doing the facepalm, like, and that's it. Like maybe even like him and Riker, like a 2-pack, just alt models. That'd be kind of cool. Even some of the other characters, you could like the Federation characters. They could even do like some alternate costumes or poses with some of the characters. Be kind of neat. Not necessary. It'd be kind of a neat little bonus. thing. I feel like we have, I play the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. You probably see unboxings for those. Where they do have some alternate sculpts for some of the character, like, oh, with his helmet on, with his helmet off, or this armor. Doesn't change their gameplay. There's no new cards for them. But that'd be something neat they could do with this if they wanted to in the future. Just like release like a pack of like alternate sculpts for some of the characters. Would be kind of cool. Alright, let's see what he has for abilities. He has the Type 2 Phaser, which has +1 attack and stun. So stun basically is if they do damage, they get a stun token instead of taking actual damage. So the Federation doesn't aim to kill anybody, they're just trying to incapacitate them. But stunning definitely does take its toll because it makes the opponent waste actions to get rid of them. He has 2 special abilities. He has Mediator. When Picard activates, search for a negotiations event card. So on our event card, we will have a card that says negotiation, such as quick retort. That's kind of cool. So every time he activates, he gets to look for an event card if he'd like. Make it so taking action to move up to 2 friendly characters up to 2 spaces. Hey, that's awesome. He gets to tell everyone else what to do. 2 attack, 3 defense, 2 skill. And his 4 spaces. Let's see what his story is. The acquisition of wealth is no longer a driving force in our lives. We work to a better ourselves and the rest of humanity. The master of diplomacy, Jean-Luc Picard, uses his Solomon-like wisdom to resolve disputes even excuse me, even between impeccable foes. When this fails, his tactical acumen has brought him remarkable victories. When off-duty, Picard is a fondness for detective stories, Shakespearean dramas, and archaeology. Holodeck missions, right? There we go. There's our alternate pack. You make a new set of tiles that has, like, one of the things is it looks like the holodeck, and you have holodeck missions. Like, special, maybe, missions for characters with alternate costumes. I solved our problem. Alright, up next we have Deanna Troi, who is our counselor, also part of the USS Enterprise D. She has diplomacy, human, betazoid, so she has 2 different races, and she's also an empath, which is an interesting keyword. We'll have to see if that takes place in any of her cards. So like here's her, she's firing off a phaser. Alright, what does Deanna Troi? She also has the Type 2 phaser, so I'm not going to keep reading through them. I think everyone has that. Then she also has Mind Reader. When Troi activates, you may look at 2 random mission cards in your opponent's hand. So that's here or there, whether you think that's really an ability that you want to do or not. Most games, I'm generally not like, I don't really care what's in my opponent's hand. I'm doing my own thing. But this game, I could definitely see that could be a bonus. Because if you look at the 2 mission cards in their hand, and you can say, like, oh, they need to be on the bridge or the sick bay for this, to do this. And you can be like, okay, like, I need to try and stop them or block them. Like, it can kind of give you some advantages there. In a game where, like, spaces on the board and positioning make a lot of difference, it could definitely make knowing what's in your opponent's hand could be very helpful. She has 2 attack, 2 defense, 2 skill, and 4 movement. What is her story? Deanna Troi serves as a ship's counselor aboard the USS Enterprise D under Captain Jean-Luc Picard. She was born on Begazays, but is a human father whom she followed into the Starfleet. Despite her human heritage limiting her telepathic abilities, she has strong empathic skills and holds an advanced degree in psychology. Cool. Very interesting. Alright, our 3rd Federation is we have Beverly Crusher, the Doctor. Command medical science, and she's just a human. Just a human, like that's, not a good thing. There's her miniature. So she has a data pad and her medical bag. They have a phaser, which is pretty cool. Gives her a little bit different style. And what does Beverly Crusher do for us as the Doctor? She has take an action and discard 2 cards to remove a stun token or 2 damage tokens from an adjacent character. Awesome, a healing. I don't think any other character, so far there's no other character has direct healing like that. So that could definitely be a huge advantage in the game. With the alternative as also being like, you know, discarding 2 cards is a hefty sum. But the thing is, I'd rather have less cards in your hand, maybe discard some missions, maybe some equipment you don't need, versus having a character die. Then also the fact that you have Jean-Luc who can search for a negotiation event, so you can always refill your hand a little bit quicker that way too if you ever needed to. 2 attack, 2 defense, 2 skill, 4 movement. Fairly straight down the line. The Dancing Doctor. Beverly Crusher graduated the top of her Starfleet Academy, following her grandmother's footsteps as a healer. Her husband, Wesley's father, died on the USS Stargazer, then commanded by Captain Picard. Now Dr. Crusher serves as the Chief Medical Officer on the USS Enterprise D under Picard's command. There's a lot to take in that entire statement. So first of all, her husband died not necessarily under Picard's watch, but like on the ship that he was commanding. It might not have been something he could have controlled one way or the other. It doesn't really say. But now both of them are on the Enterprise. But also, Wesley's father. So now, is she... Yeah, she's Wesley. I never even, honestly, I'm gonna say I never put together the her and Wesley were mother and son. They have the same last name. It would have kind of been like, duh. I just never even, wow, I never even put that together. That's kind of cool. I can't believe I ever figured out. We have Geordi LaForge, the chief engineer. Computers, engineering times 2, human, and he's our specialist for the team. So we can switch out with other members of the Federation, but you have to have at least 1 specialist and 1 captain. So he's got like a little briefcase, he's got a spader. Yeah, so it's still limited on who you can swap out. The only other thing with the Federation, I think are the only members that have this as an issue right now. If they have character cards in their deck, you can't use them. So like, we'll see this when this comes up later, but for example, like, this deck has a Worf card in it. So if you put Worf on the team, you then have to take out Worf. And Riker's team from the base set has some of these other cards like Wesley, Deanna Troi, Beverly Crusher, and Geordi LaForge. So if you put any of these characters into that, you have to take that card out. So you can't have the miniature on the board and play their character card. Alright, so he has his Type 2 phaser. He has his visor. When LaForge passes an engineering skill test with at least 2 successes, choose to either draw a support card or search the mission deck, discard pile for a parachute mission card. Cool. So he gets extra bullets, 2 attack, 2 defense, 2 skill. Interesting though that like when they're referencing these characters, so like Jean-Luc, yeah, says when Picard does this, do that. Oh, it does say Troy. Interesting. So it does use their last names. Alright. I thought one of the other characters is their first name. Interesting. Alright, what does Geordi LaForge have on the back? Lieutenant Commander Geordi LaForge is the U.S. Enterprise Chief Engineering Officer. Born on Somalia to Starfleet parents, it was almost inevitable that LaForge would join Starfleet despite being born blind. With his visor, he has a superior vision to any normal human, being able to see the infrared spectrum all the way to the deep ultraviolet. This is a useful trait of the engineering inspecting worn or damaged components. That's pretty cool. I also hear he's a good reader. Yes, I made that joke. Then we have Wesley Crusher, the aforementioned one. He's the Ensign. Just kind of, I believe, like, is the term for, like, a trainee or a cadet. Computers, science times 2, engineering, human, and traveler. I am really curious on this traveler keyword, because that's the first time I've seen that. So this is actually a fun pose for him. So he is crouched down with like some sort of computer device doing something. If I make another pop culture reference, maybe he's getting ready to play some tabletop games. But that's just a Big Bang Theory. Yeah, I made lots of references there. He has a favorite NES phaser NES student. Taking action to search the support next discard pile for an experiment card. So we have two different guys that can search the discard pile for stuff, which is always nice. You play cards, you get to find them. Picard can search for cards from the deck, so that's kind of nice. He has only 1 attack, 2 defense, and 1 skill. So all these guys are pretty much 2/2/2. With the exception of Wesley only having 1 attack and Picard having 3 defense. Otherwise, they're all pretty much straight down the line. Alright, and his story is when his mother became chief medical officer of the USS Enterprise D, Wesley joined as a dependent civilian. His extraordinary abilities earned him a promotion to ensign, eventually a place in a Starfleet Academy. Under the guidance of the mysterious traveler, Wesley discovered his remarkable ability to explore alternate planes of existence and manipulate space and time. That is nuts, and I did not know that about him. I just assumed he was always kind of like, they added a kid in there, so that way, like, hey, your kids might want to watch because there's a teenager character. But that's pretty cool. Alright, let's look at the core mission. So what are we trying to do? We have strong-willed, score 50 points. If you and your opponent have no cards left in the support deck at the end of the game. So, obviously, you have ways of probably playing stuff and drawing cards out, but you have to see what you can do to make your opponent run out of cards. So that'd be interesting. On the other side, we have open dialogue. If you have 5 or more negotiation missions in your scoring at the end of the game, this one will be a lot easier to score with Picard, since he can draw a negotiation card every turn, or every activation. He'll have a lot better chance of getting these cards. Alright, we are going to hop into the starter deck cards. So we'll start with our mission deck. And these are 2 copies of Aberration. Oppose diplomacy skill test at a command terminal on the bridge with a hostile character of your opponent's choice as the challenger. If you roll 2 or more successes, score this card. Bonus. Your opponent must draw or discard cards until they have the same number of support and mission cards as you. Oh boy. That's how you get rid of this stuff, right? You force your opponent to take a test against you. And if you score, they have to discard way down. That's crazy. The Baryon sweep. Take a science skill test at the science terminal in the science lab while having a character in the operation terminal. Bonus, score 5 points for each additional success. 2 copies of Covert Field Density. Taking engineering skill test at operations in the terminal in the transporter room. Pick an empty space and place up to 2 friendly characters in that space. The emergency evacuation. Take a security skill test at a command terminal in the crew quarters. Immediately take a command skill test with a different character at any other command terminal. If both pass, score this card. Intensive negotiation. Taking a opposed diplomacy skill test at command terminal on the bridge with a hostile character of your opponent's choice as the challenger. If you roll 2 or more successes, score. Score 20 bonus points if your opponent has no cards in their hand. Negotiation here is going to be interesting. Live together in peace. Score at the end of the round if no friendly or hostile characters other than Borg or drones were neutralized this round. Yeah, they don't care if Borg get hurt, but yeah, as long as no other character. Score 10 points at the end of the game if no friendly or hostile characters other than Borg drilling to neutralize this game. So that's kind of cool. Like, you could just score an extra 10 points if just nobody happens to get defeated. And the Federation are out to stun people, not kill. So if you're just doing your job, you have a very good chance of scoring with this. Mutual interests. Play before your opponent rolls dice when their non-board character takes takes a skill test on a mission card. The opponent may choose to discard a card to make you the opponent may choose to discard a card to make you discard this card. If they do not, they roll 2 additional skill dice and you score this card. So play before your opponent. Interesting. So basically what this does is your opponent is doing a skill test, and you can either give them 2 dice, but you get a score, 5 points for each successor opponent rolls, and they have 2 additional dice, so that could help them score a lot, or they may discard a card to make you not do this. So basically they don't want your help, like, to potentially score some extra couple of points if they do really well. They have to discard a card, which hurts them as well. It's a very cool card. We have 2 copies of Pacify. Play before your opponent rolls dice for an attack action against a friendly character. The opponent may choose to cancel the attack action, forfeiting the action. If they do not cancel, you score this card. If they cancel the attack, they score this card. Interesting. So is it worth more for them to attack you or gain 10 points? Or is it worth them still attacking you but you gaining 10 points? Oh, that's tricky. I love it. 2 copies of Position of Strength. Take a diplomacy skill test at a command terminal on the bridge. If you roll 2 or more successes, score this card. Bonus 10 points if your opponent has 2 or less support cards in their hand. Neat. Prepare nanites. Take a science skill test at the medical bay terminal in the sick bay while having a character in the science terminal in engineering. Score 5 points for each additional successes. So yeah, these are fun because some of these, like here in the Federation, does this a lot where they have to have 2 people in multiple things, so they kind of spread your crew out a little bit more. We have Sense Intent. So this is Empath. And we have 2 copies, but we only have 1 in the starter deck. Taking opposed diplomacy skill test with a hostile character of your opponent's choice as a challenger. Roll an additional die if this character is an empath. If passed, score this card. Bonus, name a card. The opponent must discard all cards with that name in their hand. That is what makes her so powerful. You're gonna make... Basically, you're gonna do is just force your opponent to take a skill test. And if you're empath, you get more. So Deanna Troy does a lot more with this. And then you can also use your ability to look at their hand and then make them discard it. If they have multiple of the same thing, that's awesome. Sense Motive. Interrupt. Score this card when a hostile character takes an action that scores a mission on the last side of your character. Bonus 15 points if your character is an empath. Ooh. And we only have 1 copy of it. So actually there's supply 2, we only got 1 copy. We have Sense Need. Draw 1 mission card. Draw a second mission card if you're an empath. Any opposing opponent may draw 2 mission cards. If they do, score this card. Do they dare? Ooh. And we have 2 copies of that too. Then we have 2 copies of third-party arbitration. Challenge all unopposed skill tests on your opponent's mission card with one of your character at command terminal. Score this card if your opponent fails. Your opponent may discard 2 cards to cancel this. That's fun. I like that as an idea of, like, basically, like, I'm going to try and do something now, or stop you, or do something. Like, you can cancel it, but I'm going to gain a bonus if you do that. So it's like, oh, do they risk it? Can they afford to give me 15 points, but can they afford to discard 2 cards? That's pretty cool. There's a lot of missions in that set. Alright, then we have our support deck. We're going to start off with Sea Spire, and then it says supply 2, but we only have 1 copy. Recover 1 damage from one of your characters. Each opponent may recover 1 damage from one of their characters. For each opponent to recover damage, you may recover an additional damage from one of your characters. So again, can they afford to, how bad do they need to heal? Are they willing to let you heal more? We have Chief O'Brien, one of the ship crew. Choose one. Search for an equipment or transporter event card. Shuffle the card into your support deck at the end of this activation. Or place a friendly character in empty space. So I think the crew are really neat because they basically let you, here's a thing, go back and you can keep using it. Or you get this other ability, then you don't get it again. We have 2 copies of Meditation. Discard a card from your hand. Your opponent must discard 2 cards from their hand. And that's how you're going to get rid of their support cards, hopefully. Because if you don't get rid of their support for your core mission, they're going to have to get rid of their missions, which are going to make it harder for them to score. We have 2 copies of Mind Over Matter, with Wesley and LaForge there, Jordy. Play before an opponent rolls dice when taking an attack action against your character. Roll an additional defense die. If the character is a traveler, roll 2 additional defense instead. Ooh, that's fun. We have 1 copy of Parlay. Draw 2 support cards. Each opponent may draw 2 support cards. For each opponent that drew a support card, you may draw an additional support card. We got some Picard cards. Picard's Challenge. I have 1 copy of this. May only play during Picard's activation. Choose 3 cards from your mission and support deck discard piles. Your opponent looks at them and selects 1 to return to your hand and discard the other 2. Those are always mean cards. Because it's like all the other things. You're forcing your opponent to make choices for you. What can they, he picked these really 3 good cards. Which one do I have to give him, I guess, or you can gamble around and stuff, right? That's kind of cool. Picard's Compromise. Taking a pose diplomacy skill test, pick a hostile character that's in line of sight to challenge it. If passed, move the hostile character up to 2 spaces. The opponent may then discard up to card to move one of your characters up to 2 spaces. Interesting. So you gotta move your guys around. We have 1 copy of Quick Retort. Play when a hostile character ends a move action in line of sight of a friendly Federation character. Take a diplomacy skill test with the hostile character as a challenger. If passed, the hostile character's player must discard a support card. Cool. Alright, then we have a Risky Negotiation. Play during an attack action targeting a character. Move 1 attack die showing a 5 or 6. The opponent attacking you then remove 2 cards to remove 1 defense die showing a 5 or 6. Again, that's neat. Because, right, you did automatically make one of their failing. But then they can they afford to discard 2 cards to get rid of one of them defense? Interesting. Self-sacrifice. Play when a friendly character takes damage during an attack action. Apply all damage to one of your Federation characters adjacent to that character. Not bad. Sometimes you just need to do that. We have the Traveler. Choose one of the following. Search your support deck for a Traveler event card. Shuffle it into your support deck. Shuffle this card in your support deck. Or place any number of mission cards from your hand on the bottom of your mission deck. Draw that number of mission cards. It's not bad either. We have some permanent events here, which are always fun. I'm going to drop these down quick. So, Picard's Intuition. Played during Picard's activation. Place this card on the table. At the start of each commander's activation, they may discard any 2 cards from their hand to return 1 card from either their discard pile to the top of that deck. from either of their discard piles to the top of that deck. Interesting. So you can discard 2 cards to get 1 back. Plasmadyne Relay. Play this card on the table. Set up to 3 support cards from your hand aside. Then draw that number of support cards. Place the cards you set aside on top of your support deck in any order. Just set your cards aside. Oh, draw 3, then put those back on top. So basically, they're going to be stacked. Okay, cool. We have Static Warp Bubble. Then we play during Wesley Crusher's activation. Interesting. At the start of each character's activation, their player must place a card from their hand to the bottom of its deck. If a player is unable to shuffle this card into your support deck. That's pretty fun. And our final permanent event is Space, Time, and Thought. May only play during a Traveler's activation. Immediately the top card of your support and mission decks at any time. Discard this card to draw the top card of either deck. Immediately play it on the card's timing and restrictions. Cool. And we have some equipment. Captain's Log. Immediately played on your commander. Score this card as a mission if this character has scored a mission this round. Earl Grey Tea. Discard this card to recover 1 damage or reroll all dice for a skill test or attack action or an interrupt. Score this card as a mission when the character scores the Captain's Log equipment card. So you can kind of team up. Hot. And our final ones, we have 1 copy of Hypo Spray, recover up to 2 damage or remove up to 2 stun tokens from this or an adjacent character. Then discard this card. This character is in a sick bay, shuffles in your support deck instead. Cool. That's our starter deck. Alright, so we're going to look at our non-starter deck cards, which should give us some stuff. There's not a lot of crossover between this and the other Federation from the core set, Riker set, which I really like. And the thing is, because your Federation are obviously like the core of the show, so there's going to be a lot more instances and things they can draw from, as opposed to like, there's only so many episodes with, Romulans, or the Borg, or Klingons, and even still when they start breaking them down into factions, like, Grorons, or Selenas, or, House of Duras, those specific groups are even probably in smaller episodes. So there's only so many cards they can have that are like, here's X number of Klingon cards, and here's X number for that, where there's a lot of stuff with Picard, and a lot of stuff with Riker. So yeah, we're not going to get as many duplicates as we did, but there are also going to be some. Also to note, there are some cards in here that have supply 2, which means you can have up to 2 in your deck, but there are not 2 in this set. Some of them, there's only 1 copy, because they're in the other set, they're in the base game set, so they figure you have a second copy there if you really want one. And there's some, I think there's a few or 1 or 2 that there is not even a second copy yet. So that means there might be a 3rd Federation set coming out in the future that also has these. Because yeah, it just means you can have up to 2, does not mean it has to have 2 in your deck. A new path, Endgame. Score this card at the end of the game if Wesley Crusher is in play. So you can keep Wesley alive. You get 10 points. Bonus, score 5 points for each Traveler card in your hand or in the support deck discard pile. Nice. That could be a very good surprise, right? Because they might not know that you have that ready to go. It's like, boom, I scored an extra 30 points, right? That's fun. Answer distress signal. Take a communication skill test at the command terminal in the bridge. Bonus, score 5 points for each additional success. Isolate pathogens. Take a science skill test at the medical terminal in the biology lab. Immediately take a medical skill test with a different character in the medical terminal in the sickbay. If you pass both, score this card. Picard's Determination. May only be played during Picard's activation. Taking opposed diplomacy skill test against a hostile commander. Add 1 die to the roll if Picard is adjacent to the hostile commander. If passed, score this card. Plus 5 for each additional success. The Prime Directive. Endgame. Score at the end of the game if you do not neutralize any hostile characters during this game. Nice. I like endgame cards. They're kind of fun to hang on because it's a good surprise. Recrystallize the lithium. Take a science skill test at a science terminal in the science lab. Immediately take engineering with different characters and operations in engineering. Oh, is that Scotty in the back? That might be. If you pass both tests, score this card. Reroute main power, take engineering and operations in main corridor, bonus 5 points for each additional success. Restore the lab's database, science skill test in science terminal and science lab. Also, engineering and operations and engineering, score both to pass. Alright, so we have Sense Intent, we have a second copy of this one, and we have a second copy of Sense Motive. Cool, so those are mission cards. It's not a ton of new missions because there was a lot in the base, in the starter set. We have some events. We have Ceasefire, we have a second copy there. We have another character, we have Data. Play when you take or opposing skill test, change one of your dice results to 4, which is passing. Shuffle this into your support deck. Or search the support deck discard pile for an event card that is not a permanent or trait event. Ooh, I don't think we've seen trait events yet. That's new. Unless there's one in here that I haven't seen yet, which I don't recall. But that's kind of fun. Mentioned there's going to be an upcoming one. So that's pretty cool. Heated negotiations. Play before dice are rolled for an opposing skill test. Both players may discard any number of cards to roll that number of additional dice. If 3 or more dice of either players are showing the same number at the end of the test, you may return this card to your hand. So play before dice are rolled, and now you can discard cards to let you roll that number of additional dice. Oh, roll additional dice. Okay, that makes more sense. I don't know why I read that as you may re-roll any number of dice, and I'm like, if you have to just guess on how many you have to re-roll. I don't know. This is an interesting ship crew member, Hugh, who's a Borg. I don't know anything about him. Shuffle this card in your support deck. Your opponent must discard your top card of their support deck. Interrupt. Discard an opponent's sub-command event card that is in play. So that's only gonna really work. That's not really only. It's only gonna work against the Borg characters. But that's not even bad. I don't have any issue if you have certain cards that only work against certain other factions, or races, or things like that, or specific other cards, because then you can tailor if you're trying to play a certain mission. We have 2 copies of Joint Discovery. Draw a mission card. Each opponent may draw a mission card. If each opponent drew a mission card, you may draw an additional mission card. So we have one like that for support cards. We have another crew member. We have Laxana Troy, so Deanna's mother. When a friendly character of your choice gains an empath keyword and an additional dice for all diplomacy skill tests until the end of this activation, shuffle this card in your support deck. Or look at all the mission cards in your opponent's hand. Cool, because you have cards that work with empath, giving someone else the ability to use it. It's really fun. We have our second copy of Parlay. We have a second copy of Picard's Challenge. Second, Quick Retort. We have another crew member. I love giving crew members. Reginald Barclay. A friendly character of your choice gains an additional die for all engineering skill tests until the end of its activation. Shuffle your support deck. Or search your support deck for discard pile for an equipment card. Nice. Sense Danger. Play before the opponent rolls dice when attacking against your empath character. The empath rolls 2 additional defense dice. Sense Emotions. Play with a hostile character in line of sight. Taking a opposed diplomacy skill test with a hostile character as a challenger. Pass with your opponent's hand and place one of the support cards on the top of the support deck. And our final event card is Worf. Play a friendly character of your choice, gains an additional die for all computer and security skill tests till the end of your activation. Or search your support deck for a security or weapons keyword card. And then we have some new equipment. We have the engineering kit, which Jordy had. So you can see Jordy's card there. Equipped to a character. Roll one additional die when this character takes an engineering skill test. Bonus, if this character rolled 2 or more successes in engineering, when you scored a repair mission, gain a bonus action. We have our second hypo spray. We have interphasic scanner. Oh, that's probably what she's holding. Nope, she just has a data pad. Roll one additional die when this character takes a medical skill or science test. Play immediately before a draw phase or the top 2 cards of your support deck. Place one on the top of the deck and the other at the bottom. We have our med kit, which we have, says a supply 2, but this is one of the ones where we only have 1 copy, and I don't think there's one in the base game. Roll an additional die when this character takes a medical skill test. Take the medical skill test if passed, or this adjacent character either recovers 1 damage for each success or removes a stun token. The portable tractor beam, the top 2 support cards. Place one in your hand either to the bottom of the support deck. And our final card, which is again a supply 2 that we only have 1, is the tri-recorder. Roll one additional die for this character. Take a science and security skill test. At the start of this character's activation, you may pick 1 support or mission card from your opponent's hand at random, or look at that card and return it. Cool. Yeah, there's some really awesome, interesting stuff in this set. I don't know what it says here on the back. Yeah, like, lots of stuff dealing with getting rid of support cards. The Picard stuff is really neat, where lots of it's forcing your, like, the idea of what he does is negotiation stuff. Letting you basically, like, your opponent has to decide if they can afford to do something or if they have to discard or give you points or something. It's kind of interesting. A couple of medical cards, a couple of traveler cards, a couple of empath cards. Really make up. Now, it's one of those things where it's like, you get games like this where they tend to only like release new cards and like character sets. I wouldn't even be opposed if they made like update packs or like upgrade packs to like special sets. Like, here's a new Federation pack, right? I know there's only so many characters you can do for everything, but it'd be even kind of cool if they made like either like small packs, like 1 for Federation, 1 for Klingon, or even make like a bundle of like, here's 1 for all 5 teams, right? That are out or whatever at the time. But it'd be neat to get some more stuff like, hey, like, we have a couple of cards that went for medical. Here's a few more for medical. Maybe here's a few more that work towards someone that has engineering, or work, like, play up each character, right? So if you want to focus your deck a little bit, like, you know, like this set here is like, you have cards that work a lot with Picard negotiation. But let's say I don't really want to use Wesley's stuff. It'd be neat to have more cards to be able to add in to take up the Traveler stuff. Maybe focus more on the medical or the empath. Or take up Deanna Troy's empath stuff and focus more on Jordy's engineering, right? So it'd be cool to get some of that stuff. Would be really neat. Like, just extra decks of cards would be kind of cool. Like, but that's just my thought on it. Alright, so that's what we have for Captain Picard. Yeah, pick up this. You can now mix and match the decks. Some of the characters with the Riker's team gives you a little bit different team, little things. You could probably swap the core missions around too. Maybe the core missions from the other one might work better with this team, or you might like them. But yeah, that's what we got. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I have some more sets coming out. See you guys later. Bye.